Chefs, what red flags should people look out for when they go out to eat? Before we start, be sure to like and subscribe to be the first to know about new videos. Comment your answer below. A4 steak is not a good steak. If employees tried to argue with you about food quality in order to dissuade you from sending something undercooked back, just leave. It means they have a cook who can't take criticism, and your chances at getting a sneeze are greatly increased. Dirty stained carpets. Ask where your oysters come from. If they don't know, you don't want them. Works for most seafood. The first thing they told us in culinary school when you're learning the basic rules for food safety standards is if you enter a seafood restaurant and smell fish, leave. If a restaurant has a one-page menu, that's usually a pretty good sign. It means their line cooks have become specialists and can usually nail all the dishes listed. Conversely, if a restaurant has a giant, multi-page menu, that's a gigantic red flag. The longer the menu, the better the odds that you're paying to eat a boiled back frozen meal. If a restaurant has a huge menu, it's all frozen. Not a chef, but I just took a chance on a restaurant today and the chefs were sitting, legs up, right next to the front door as I walked in. No one but staff and me there. So, according to how my stomach feels, probably that. If the area is busy but the restaurant is empty, that's usually a bad sign. When the menus are super dirty and never cleaned, that means everything is super dirty and never cleaned. I have a family member who's worked in multiple different restaurants, and they always advise me never to get drinks with ice because too many places don't keep their ice machines cleaned because it's so often overlooked compared to other kitchen equipment. Cook for a small Mexican restaurant here. I always look for how the staff interact with each other. If they all seem to enjoy being there, and coordinate well, more often than not it's because everything is running smoothly and they have a good system, which usually means they know what they're doing and you can expect good food. That's how it always is for the smaller, family-run restaurants I frequent anyway, which I believe always have the best food. Not a chef. Front of the house. When my boss, the owner, used to host and people would complain to her about the hour wait on Saturday night at 7 p.m. and then threaten to leave, she would tell them, if the restaurant you choose does not have a wait on a Saturday night, you may not want to eat there. And then turn her biggest bleep eating grin on them. Can I add you to the list? There's a Chinese restaurant in my town with a sign out front that says clean food. And fresh. I still can't help but wonder why they would bring that up unprovoked. ITT me realizing the 24-hour diner up the street has every red flag ever, but not caring because they have the best omelets and the best patty melts and I can get both together for under $10 plus the waitress will tell me how much her co-workers suck so I get a little entertainment too. If there is different cuisines on the same menu, it usually means it's not gonna be good. I don't trust that people can do Japanese and Italian in the same kitchen. If you walk into a restaurant and hear Gordon Ramsay yelling at the staff, you probably want to leave. Unless it's one of Gordon's restaurants, of course. This is late but I clean kitchen exhaust systems. If you walk in a restaurant and can smell grease, walk out. That means the place isn't clean. From the exhaust system to cooking equipment. We clean some places where grease drips off the hoods onto cooking surfaces. Stay away from buffet and salad bars. A lot of the time it is the same stuff that just gets refilled over and over. Super gross. Waitress here. If you see any food coming out that's messy and teriyaki sauce all over the rim of the plate, etc., it's likely to mean that the chefs aren't putting much effort into their meals and they therefore will not be very good. All the chefs at my work find it so important that everything is presented well, and I agree, so if they miss something I'll check the plates and point it out, which they always appreciate as it reflects well on them. It's a good idea to avoid restaurants that sound like Snapple cheese. My wife trained as a chef and I cooked in fine dining in college. A long menu is a red flag. If they have 40 different entrees, it means that they are preparing a bunch of frozen ingredients, or they have the exact same entree rebranded as a different dish based on the sauce. Short menus tend to mean fresher ingredients. In culinary school currently, and every single chef instructor says the same thing: if it's misspelled on the menu, it's on purpose, and it's so they don't have to sell you the real thing. A prime example is crab cakes. Cockroaches lurking around the place. If you see one, there's bound to be more hiding somewhere. An overwhelmingly huge menu. Typically those places aren't very good. Used to work in a fancy kitchen. Any place that is charging more than $25 for a chicken entree is a goddamn scam. Not a chef, more of a foodie. That's what we call fat guys that eat out a lot now. General restaurant condition. If the paint is peeling off the walls, the furniture is all torn up, the place is not cleaned well, etc., the food is probably going to be equally bleep. If there are too many items on the menu. If you have 50 combo choices, man, you know half that stuff is frozen, old, canned, etc. Nothing is gonna be great like an In-N-Out burger. It's all gonna be meh. Chef here. An easy red flag is an oversized menu or a menu that goes out of the restaurant's theme. If the menu is the size of a short novel, it's very likely your food is going to be subpar. Staff demeanor can be a big one, but is hard to judge if you can't see the cook/chef. It's not uncommon for places to have lazy service with a poor attitude, but the cook's still rocking it. If you do see the cook though and their demeanor is poor, they aren't going to care how your food comes out. Not a chef, but if you see one singular cockroach lurking around, there's probably hundreds or thousands of them hiding in the kitchen. Also, dirty menus and corners that aren't dusted are bad signs. I look for dust. Dust on the ceiling tiles or in the air conditioning vents. I also have a habit of running my finger along chair frames after I sit down to check for dust. If there are a ton of menu items, like pages and pages, I walk the bleep out. Think of it like this: if you can do 10 things really well, but there are 30 things to make, everything is going to suffer. The menu being large spreads everything out thin, from ordering, to food cost, and all the way down to plating and employee morale are all affected by having too many menu items. Literally, less is more. Never order the bouillabaisse/zopino/seafood stew if it's being run as a special. That means the chef has a lot of old seafood to get rid of and is putting it all in a flavorful broth to hide the taste. If the sign that says restroom secretly leads into the kitchen. Remember, the specials always look and sound great, most likely leftover. Trying to get rid of it. Did it myself as a chef for years. If the bathroom is a mess, the kitchen is a mess as well. Former pizza chef here. More of a green flag than a red. But if the kitchen has large windows you can see in, or open style cooking, usually means everyone is proud to be on display to the public and are not microwaving every meal. Like previous comments, we would often abuse each other and we got caught laughing whilst cooking. Customers loved it. Berating not a chef, but a waitress that has worked at a few seemingly harmless, hipster restaurants that have questionable conditions. Not hard to get to a rating, folks. If there's a window that goes into the kitchen and there's a microwave in there. Not a chef, but I ride motorcycle long distance, so I have some experience. Generally speaking, if there's a bunch of signs, but it's a small restaurant, avoid it, unless there are a bunch of cars. Small restaurants with no signs don't need to advertise. They know their food is good. If it's an Italian place and they serve butter with their bread. Not a red flag, but really nice/authentic places serve bread with oil and vinegar. If you are worried about food safety, then chefs aren't the best to ask. That's what health inspectors are for, and as a health inspector I'll tell you that most chefs are worried less about food safety than they are about what things cost them. They certainly don't want customers to get sick, but if you think they are throwing away the £30 pack of beef that was thawed on the counter overnight, or the soup broth that has been at 90 degrees for 2 days, then you might want to eat at home. For Mexican restaurants, the more hole in the wall the better. I need to see an 8-year Mexican chef, Spanish soap operas on a bulb television and a family of 6 staring at me like bleep are you doing here gringo? You know you're about to get some quality cuisine my friends. Always look at who's eating. If the patron's ethnicity match the cuisine that's usually a great sign. A co-worker just told me she went to a place here in town with her boyfriend. He went to use the bathroom and came out, made some excuse to the waitress about why they had to leave. It's because he went to wash his hands and there was no hot water from the sink. He didn't trust that they had any running hot water for dishes or any type of sanitization. This one's pretty common knowledge, but if a place is packed on a Monday night, then it's safe to say that it's a pretty legit spot. Side note, there's no real reason why I should be this annoyed by it, but when Denny's started doing that we're cooking now ad campaign, I couldn't help but think of were they doing before? Each time. High-end waiter here. If you go someplace nice, the people who touch any plate being served never touch a plate being cleared, and vice versa. It's a high standard few places reach. If the person serving your food is also clearing food, they should have sleeves rolled up or wet wrists, because there's no way to meet health code otherwise. Very few places meet health code. It's so much hand washing. I'm a chef also. I always look at the cleanliness of the staff. Everyone in the place fo and bo should know the guidelines for staff cleanliness, jewelry that can be worn, how long facial hair can be before needing a beard guard, fingernail length, etc. If they can't maintain themselves, they sure as hell are not keeping clean stations and following safe handling procedures. When you ask the server what's the best thing on the menu and the reply is well, everything's pretty good. Ex-Heath Inspector here. The bathroom. If the bathroom, which the public can see, is nasty and dirty, the kitchen and other stuff in the back is twice as bad. Every time. Easy way to tell if Mexican food will be good. If the salsa is bad, then the food is likely bad. Mexican places that take pride in their salsa take the same pride in their food. If you get the watery, tomato sauce with chips, then more than likely the food will be uninspiring. I work in a pizza restaurant and we have a Thai chicken pizza with peanut sauce as the base sauce. It's our least popular pizza and the peanut sauce is almost always expired. Point being that if there is an item on the menu that has an ingredient you don't see anywhere else on the menu, red flag. Odds are it probably doesn't get ordered enough to keep up on inventory. If the moniker outside the restaurant is damaged and words are misspelled, that's a bad sign. Always take a look out back of the restaurant. If they don't keep their garbage area clean, chances are the kitchen isn't either. Former prep chef, always be alert for any bleachy taste in your wings. You have been visited by Sad Cat. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to make Sad Cat happy again.